Hello, everybody. This is Rick Manning, President of Americans for Limited Government. This past week, we've seen something really historic happen. We saw 20 members of Congress stand up and say, no, we're not going to take it anymore. The theme song of those 20 should be from the Who, the song, We Aren't Going to Take It. But it was amazing. They stood up. The entire world was against them. That you had Fox News attacking them. You had everybody attacking them, and they fought and they won. And what they won were incredibly important um, concessions and rules changes and committee changes. So now there's going to be Jim Jordan having a subcommittee underneath him specifically to look at the abuse of power by not only the FBI, but by Department of Homeland Security and all the other agencies that have been engaged in abusing the power, using federal intelligence agencies to spy on you and me and to shut our speech down on social media platforms. And that includes Americans for Limited Government. So let's just be very clear. This is going to be fantastic because these people can be held accountable for what they did. And the people who were responsible in the federal government hopefully will also be held to account. So that's important. It's important to have a real conversation about what's happening at the border. There's before bills, a 4-point plan brought up to try to fix the border and force the Biden administration to actually start enforcing the laws on the border. That's incredibly important. Don't ask me why we had to fight like crazy for that. That should have been a given, and yet it wasn't. We have rules changes that make it so it's very difficult to cram another $1.7 trillion omnibus down the throats of the House of Representatives. Why is that? Because they have a single subject rule, and that will hopefully force, unless the rules are suspended, that will at least force a conversation, a vote on whether or not to break out the individual parts of anything the Senate does and be able to then vote on amendments to those things. Remember, the House of Representatives is under the Constitution, sends all spending bills to the Senate. But what's happened practically because of the filibuster is that the Senate negotiates the bill and then sends it back to the House. And the House says, well, we have to accept whatever the Senate agreed upon, which is how you end up with the disaster $1.7 trillion bill that we ended up with this past December, where the House was told, take it or leave it. You can't offer an amendment. That should be coming to an end because of these guys, these 20 who courageously stood up. I want to mention three or four of these people. First of all, Chip Roy. Chip Roy is a study. Smart, he's tough, and everybody out there, Chip is kind of going to get a lot of the heat on this, and because he's the guy who really was one of the brains on it and really fought like crazy. So, visit his website and help him any way you can. Thank him. Lauren Boebert took a massive hit. This was not in her political interest. What was in her political interest after barely winning her race in Colorado was to lay low, play the game, and essentially get the moderate Republicans to back her and to become essentially the standard B-flat Republican. She could be in Congress for 20, 30 years if she wanted to do that. She risked everything. She risked her congressional career to be able to spend 2 years fighting for truth and liberty. Visit Lauren Boebert's site and see if there's any way you can help her. Thank her directly to her office. I'm going to mention somebody else who most people don't talk about. That's Representative Paul Gosar. Paul Gosar is one of those guys who's very smart, but you don't see him on TV a lot. And he brought the institutional memory to play. He's seen this game being played since 2011 when he came in with the 2010 Congress. He's been told, he's seen it when you could make amendments, at which point he was very effective at making amendments and really limiting government through those amendments he made to appropriations bills. And he's seen it when you can't make amendments, when it's just, go along to get along. And he fought like crazy to make certain that conservative principles can be represented, that there can be votes on the floor, and that we can fight against the administrative state in a way that we've never been able to before. Well, haven't been able to in the last 6-7 years. So, those are 3 of the 20. I encourage you to look at all 20 and send them all a thank you. But one thing that I think gets lost in this is with that immigration package and with the looking at the deep state, there's one Biden administration official who is responsible for both. Alejandro Mayorkas is the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security. It's been reported that the Department of Homeland Security, through its CISA division, which should be cut to shreds in terms of what they could do and the power they have, but the CISA division has been coordinating with other agencies, other intelligence agencies, to basically tell the social media companies what should be censored and what should not be censored. And so it's not just the FBI. The FBI is what we know about because of the Twitter emails. But the fact of the matter is, Department of Homeland Security under Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has not only refused to enforce the border, but they've been at the point of the spear in terms of violating our First Amendment rights and coercing companies, private companies, to do their dirty work for them. It's time Alejandro Mayorkas be thrown out of office. It's time for him to be booted. And that's something which can be done. I'm going to remind you of something that happened a few weeks ago. And that was a push by some of our friends. Some of these names you'll recognize, Andy Biggs, some others. And they've had a press conference a couple of weeks ago urging that Mayorkas be impeached, and they are dead.
In August 2021, I was the first member of Congress to introduce articles of impeachment against Secretary Mayorkas, and now that we have the majority in the House of Representatives, I expect our party to pursue impeachment next Congress. Secretary Mayorkas has committed high crimes and misdemeanors. His conduct is not incompetent, it's not negligent, it is willful and intentional. First, Secretary Mayorkas has failed to maintain operational control of the border as required under the law. The Secure Fences Act of 2006 requires the Secretary to achieve and maintain operational control of the border. It defines operational control as, quote, the prevention of all unlawful entries into the United States, including entries by terrorists, other unlawful aliens, instruments of terrorism, narcotics, and other contraband, close quote. That is his duty and his obligation. Instead, the policies that he has enacted has produced the exact opposite of operational control. Current Border Patrol Chief Raul Ortiz said under oath that the Biden administration's border policies have, quote, no consequences, close quote, for illegal aliens arriving in our country. As a result, more than 4 million illegal aliens have been apprehended under Secretary Mayorkas' leadership. In August 2021, I was
on Monday, we are going to have a take action that we're going to be putting out probably in the evening. And we are going to urge Congress to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas. This is part of both the Jordan investigation on one hand, on the deep state and the abuse of power. And it's also on his failure to do his job at the border. And he's the point of the spear because both of those things come together and they're under his watch. And there's nothing that they can do that would be more significant in terms of those two areas and sending a direct message to the Biden administration is to have a vote to impeach Alejandro Mayorkas and to impeach him and have the Senate then be forced to actually hold hearings and have him on trial. We've seen this repeatedly over the last 2 years. It's time for the Biden administration, or actually 3 years. It's time for the Biden administration to start being held accountable for their failure to enforce the law. And with that, let's just keep fighting. And this has been a glorious week. We need them to pass the rules through the House with 218 votes. So contact your congressman on that. And on Monday morning, just tell them, please pass the House rules as negotiated by Speaker McCarthy. That's all they need to hear. Contact your member of Congress at 202-225-3121. At that, I will be signing off for today.